from a multi-billion-dollar fraud cover to violent street chaos. Minneapolis erupts as Mayor Frey drops a bombshell on both scandals.
More could have been done, more can be done. And I think it makes it really clear that this is not about clamping down on fraud. The people that have been investigating the fraud just walked out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. The people that have been investigating and prosecuting this fraud in the Trump administration at the U.S. Attorney's Office said, you know what is happening isn't right. It's not fair.
Not fair. Joe Tayrab served nearly 4 years in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis and says the fraud was shockingly easy to pull off. He joins us now. Thank you for being here. So how do you react to the mayor in that new interview today?
Well, honestly, Sandra, his words are extremely hollow. They mean nothing to me because Democrats like Mayor Frey, but also Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison did absolutely nothing for years. It was an open secret here in Minnesota that there were tons of folks in the Somali community who were committing all this fraud. There were whistleblowers for years. And so people like Mayor Frey didn't do anything about it, and people like him should have to answer for it.
So he also said this defending past fraud probes. Listen to this.
There have been investigations into this fraud now for years. People have been prosecuted, people have been convicted, and that's the way it should be. You go to jail as an individual. Entire communities, entire populations are not held accountable for the actions of the individuals that actually did it.
All right, so how does that sit with you?
It doesn't fit at all. I mean, honestly, he didn't have anything to do with the investigations, nor did Governor Tim Walz or Keith Ellison. Fraud was rampant in Minnesota. And just letting you know, these fraudsters, it was shockingly easy, as I've said before, to commit this fraud. These organizations were supposed to provide food to kids who needed it and get reimbursed from the government. And they were saying week after week, month after month, that they were feeding thousands of children that they weren't feeding at all. They were just made up, getting checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars week after week. And so the amount of money that went out the door, millions and millions of dollars, and the former acting U.S. attorney said the amount of fraud coming out of just Minnesota is in the billions. Totally unacceptable, and people like Mayor Frey did nothing about it.
Well, this is the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Dates back to 2011, a meeting where he seemingly sides with alleged fraudsters. Watch.
The only way we can protect what we have is by inserting ourselves into the political arena, putting our votes where it needs to be, but most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates that will fight to protect our interests.
That's right.
You can only protect our interests when we have your back, and you don't have to worry about who's behind you.
Wow. Paul Morrow reacts to his claims that he didn't take anything from convicted fraudsters. Listen here.
He took thousands in campaign donations, which came in the week subsequent to that meeting, a meeting in which he sided against his own constituents. He's the attorney for the people of Minnesota. They came in complaining that their money spigot was being shut off. He said, I'm going to clean it up. They, of course, invoked racism. That immediately got him on their side. We're Muslim migrants, and that's why they're targeting us.
Meanwhile, the American public's left wondering what the heck is going on there. Joe?
What's going on there is an absolute malpractice and abdication of his duties by Keith Ellison. You heard in that meeting that fraudsters were trying to curry favor with him, and they did actually provide money to him. So he's being very, very using a lot of legalese, I would say, with him not getting any money from convicted fraudsters. He did get money from fraudsters, and he conveniently tried to give a bunch of it back. But make no mistake, Keith Ellison had an interest in not prosecuting these folks and didn't do anything to coordinate with the federal government. I was an assistant U.S. attorney for multiple years, worked for a short time on this case, and I happen to know that Keith Ellison did absolutely nothing to help us, and he has to answer for that.
Got it. Joe, appreciate you joining us here on America Reports today. Thank you very much, sir.
The streets of Minneapolis are the new front line in America's immigration battle. Communities are rising up, saying ICE tactics are indiscriminate and unjust.
We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Whoa!
Let's bring in now Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. In the immediate aftermath of that shooting, this was your response. Watch.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
In hindsight, Mr. Mayor, was that the appropriate response?
I stand by exactly what I said, and to be clear, what I was responding to was an immediate conclusion that had been drawn by the federal government where they said, one, the ICE agent was acting in self-defense, and then shortly thereafter saying that the victim was a domestic terrorist. We need to be doing everything possible right now to have a full and fair investigation, and my deep concern is when the conclusion is drawn by the government that's actually doing the investigation itself, it's much harder to trust the investigation. We need to make sure that the American people can earn and gain that trust. And yes, I think there's deep concerns with having exclusively the FBI and not our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state level conducting the investigation itself. This is an entity that has police officers and law enforcement and attorneys, people that have deep experience in investigating cases involving an officer-involved shooting. And by the way, they've come to conclusions and investigated cases that have resulted in charges and a lack thereof. And so, you know, our pitch is, look, none of us should hide from the facts here. And if we're not hiding from them, then let's make sure it's a full and fair investigation.
And would you agree that no one should be jumping at conclusions until we have that investigation, and then we'll find out what facts can come to light?
Well, I'm grateful that I'm not the one investigating this, nor is the city of Minneapolis. And when you have the secretary working at the federal government saying immediately that this was an action of self-defense, when you have the federal government booting the state government from the process entirely, yeah, there's concerns associated with that. I mean, look, we've all seen the video. I don't need to pass judgments here on it. But what I do know, and this is the bottom line, is, look, I may have disagreements with some people that are part of your audience, but I hope that people can trust that I love my city. We are experiencing an extraordinary comeback. Crime is down in virtually every category, in virtually every neighborhood. Small businesses were opening, and this whole chaos that's taking place, yeah, it's setting us back. And so my ask is simple. Let us have that beautiful rebound. Let's keep the safety improvements going. Let's keep these small businesses opening. And right now, it's getting hard because, yeah, you've got people that are afraid to go into work. Schools have shut down. I mean, we've only had 2 shootings as of recent in the city this year, and one of them was the ICE situation that you just pointed out.
Would you agree, Mr. Mayor? You ask ICE to get the F out of your city. Here's the little secret. ICE, I'm sure, would like to not have to be doing the surge operations, but because of 4 years under the President Biden administration, you had an unprecedented number of illegal migrants coming across the border. Many of them turned out to be criminal illegal aliens, and now they are going after those individuals. We can show you just a litany of, excuse me, scores of illegal criminal aliens that have been apprehended in the past few days that have included everyone from murders to sex assault of minors. These individuals were roaming free in your city because your policies do not cooperate with detainers, and so ICE is then going to get these people off the street. You would agree that the streets are safer without these individuals on your streets?
Look, in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, we are anti-murder, we are anti-crime, we are for improving the safety wherever we can. And by the way, we have worked with administrations, both present and past, to drive down crime. We've worked with the DEA, the ATF, the FBI to prosecute and charge violent crime. We've worked to get perpetrators of violent gun crime off the street, narcotics off the street. In fact, the work that was conducted was so successful, it resulted in the lowest number of shootings on record on, for instance, the North Side. We are willing to work with people when it's about murder and when it's about crime. But the truth is that this ain't about that. If this were about that, we'd have many important areas where there would be areas where we could work together. This, however, is the largest immigration enforcement action on record in the United States. And so I would just ask you, why is the largest scale immigration enforcement action taking place where we don't even have that many undocumented immigrants? Why would it not take place in Texas or Florida or Utah, where you do actually have those large numbers of undocumented immigrants? Because that's where it would actually make more sense. But again, if the issue is murder or crime, the answer is we do work with the federal government. In fact, we're presently doing that. We're presently doing this. So the truth is it's not about murder or crime. It's not.
You mentioned Texas and Florida. You just had a surge in Louisiana, and you didn't see any of the commotion that you are seeing now in your city because all of those states fully cooperate with ICE detainers. Just look at some of the videos, Mayor Frey, that we have seen of these protesters, many of whom you have praised. You've called them heroes for being out there exercising their First Amendment rights, but they've gone farther. They're blocking the ICE operations. They're impeding. Take a look at some of the videos. You've seen these.
I'm happy to look at videos. I've seen it happening live.
Watch this.
So, do you want?
Shame on you! Shame! Shame! Shame!
And so that's just a sampling of it. You're seeing it in real time. You are aware that 18 U.S. Code 111 makes it a federal crime to impede, interfere, or even assault officers. And we see the protesters crossing a line of protesting, throwing rocks, hitting cars, and interfering in the federal government's view of their operation of carrying out federal immigration law enforcement.
We have had perhaps tens of thousands of people peacefully protesting in the streets. And at the same time, yeah, they are going to stand up for their neighbors. And what we are seeing time and time again is unconstitutional conduct by ICE. ICE is not new. Our separation ordinance in the city is not new. ICE has been around for decades, so has our separation ordinance. What is new? What is new is the way that the Trump administration is presently conducting themselves. Now, again,
so you have
if this were about murder or we do have a lawsuit. Let's talk about that.
So legal analysts, not just on Fox News, on CNN and other networks, are saying that this holds no water. There's no basis for it. You're telling me here on Fox News that you support law enforcement removing murderers and rapists. So what's with the lawsuit?
Well, because what is happening right now through ICE is not about getting rid of murderers. What we see right now is discrimination taking place only on the basis of race. Are you Latino or are you Somali? And then it is indiscriminate thereafter. In other words, they are pulling people off the streets. They have pulled U.S. citizens off the streets. And you don't need to take my word for it. At this point, this has been very well documented. And also, you don't need to take my word for it. Listen to Trump. Trump himself is saying that this is about retribution. He's saying that there is a reckoning and a retribution that is coming. And so, again, if this were about murder or rape or crime or fraud, then look, we have worked together, not just with the Biden administration, with the past Trump administration, with the Bush administration. Right. We have worked with a number of different administrations to successfully drive down crime.
President Trump,
is not
Mr. Mayor,
about that. And so
secured the border, which is what he ran on. Do you give him credit for securing that border? Now he is going through the interior with ICE operations to remove the criminal illegal aliens that came in that open border of the previous administration. I think at the end of the day, let me get you on record if I can, Mr. Mayor. Do you support abolishing ICE?
I do not support abolishing ICE. However, I absolutely oppose the way that this administration is conducting themselves with ICE. Look, there are a number of entities presently, agencies at the federal government. But isn't that what your lawsuit is about,
that are conducting
themselves. No, you should read the lawsuit. The lawsuit says that, hey, you know, ICE doing ICE stuff is not what we're talking about right now. Again, we've had ICE in our city before. We've had ICE in our state before. It is the fact that, look, right now, there's about 3,000 federal ICE agents in our city between ICE and Border Control. You know how many police officers that we have? 600. Right. The kind of duress that our city is experiencing because of this is magnified. Again, crime has been down. This is not helping. Chaos has been dramatically increased by the way that these ICE operations are taking place. And we are looking for ways to keep this city safe. I hope that people, especially viewing, can understand that we want to keep this city safe. This is not accomplishing it by any standard.
I appreciate your viewpoint. I want to get a question in and respect your time on fraud. But lastly, just one last one. You mentioned President Trump. So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city, and you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe, arresting perpetrators of violent crimes, stopping car thefts from taking place. That's what I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad that just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy makes our city a better place. So again, if we're talking about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place in the streets of our city. People who are American citizens.
I appreciate the compassion.
I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how concerning that is.
I appreciate
freedom.
Your compassion.
We should be about freedom in this country. We should be about liberty. And when you are an American citizen that is being picked up by a federal agent of any administration, we should all be saying, you know what, let's take a beat, let's think this through. Maybe this isn't right.
There's two sides to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head-on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once but twice, and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not, since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE? Whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved, the community, the officers, and even the migrants?
My position here is pretty straightforward, and that's this. If you commit a crime, if you commit fraud, if you commit a carjacking or a murder, you should be investigated, charged, prosecuted, held accountable, and yes, arrested and put in jail. That is my position if you commit a crime and you are a problem on the streets of the city of Minneapolis that has made us less safe. What I am saying is that a lot of the people that ICE is picking up right now in our city are not a problem for Minneapolis. They've opened businesses. They've been here for longer than I've been here. They contribute so beautiful and greatly to our city. They have families here. They're our neighbors, and yeah, we love them. We love them and we care about them. And I hope that people throughout the country can understand that, you know, we got to be thinking about other people as if it were ourselves. You know, what would we do in these situations? How would we handle ourselves? And, you know, we care deeply about our immigrant population. We care deeply about everybody in our city. And what we're seeing right now is the kind of chaos that is being caused by this massive influx of ICE agents isn't helpful.
Let me just turn quickly, and we so appreciate your time, to the issue of fraud. You recently said fraud is real. There's convictions have been done, and you say that Governor Walz has taken measures. But you also said that, you know, more could have been done. Those were your comments on the Sunday show where you had an interview on Sunday. And my question to you is that sufficient to the Minnesota taxpayers for whom billions was stolen to just say more could have been done? Would you like to address the taxpayers and weigh in a little bit more on where this fraud investigation goes?
I would like to address it. More could have been done. More can be done. And I think it makes it really clear that this is not about clamping down on fraud, these ICE arrests we're seeing in our city, when the people that have been investigating the fraud just walked out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. The people that have been investigating and prosecuting this fraud in the Trump administration at the U.S. Attorney's Office said, you know what is happening isn't right. It's not fair. It's not, I mean, what is happening is not okay, and they all walked out. And so, again, this ain't about clamping down on fraud when the investigators themselves just left.
So Governor Walz has decided he's not going to run for re-election. Does Attorney General Keith Ellison bear some responsibility for why this fraud was so widespread and was able to go on for so long without being noticed?
Look, there have been investigations into this fraud now for years. People have been prosecuted, people have been convicted, and that's the way it should be. When you commit a crime in this country, you are held accountable and you go to jail as an individual. You go to jail as an individual. Entire communities, entire populations are not held accountable for the actions of the individuals that actually did it. And so that's where my position is. And again, if we care about the investigation of these crimes, and I do you find it concerning that all of the people that were actually investigating and prosecuting this crime just walked out? Do you find that concerning?
We just cover it, and we see where the facts lead us, and we will report on it. And that is why we so greatly appreciate your time and having you come in and weigh in on these things. I'm sure that's the case there, Griff. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Jacob Frey, Mayor of Minneapolis. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
What we're witnessing in Minneapolis is no longer just a policy disagreement. It's a full-blown breakdown of leadership. Billions of taxpayer dollars were lost to fraud. And now the same city is overwhelmed by chaos, protests, and violence aimed at federal agents doing their jobs. From welfare fraud scandals to sanctuary policies, Minnesota's leaders were warned for years, and they did nothing. Mayor Jacob Frey says crime is down, yet schools are closing, businesses are afraid to open, and ICE agents are being attacked in the streets. The rhetoric, coming from city and state leadership, hasn't cooled tensions. It's poured gasoline on the fire.